episode begins with the storm going on and Dany's finally taking the throne at Dragonstone.
Yes.
So the Red Woman arrives as well.
Yes.
Like clockwork, she always shows up at like the perfect time. I think maybe she can be trusted. Like looking back to the whole show, she revived Jon Snow. She's trying to connect Dany and Jon Snow back together, hopefully to form an alliance. And the whole Lord of Light, you know, has worked out for the better. I feel like maybe that we just assume the worst about her.
I assume the worst because she has a pretty bad track record, you know?
Okay,
She comes in, she's like killing people for their blood for Stannis. She burns Stannis' daughter. You know, I kind of have a little resentment towards her, you know? I still in the back of my mind hear the girl screaming in the last episode. And it's like horrifying. It was terrible. It was awful. Jon Snow, good idea or bad idea to leave Winterfell?
I think a good leader knows when they have to exit, knows when they are needed somewhere else. And right now, he needs to get to Dragonstone and needs to form an alliance with Dany. It's the only way that they can take Cersei. The real question is, this is Sansa's real test. She's been captured by King Joffrey and living in King's Landing as a hostage, then unfortunately by Ramsay. Now she finally is in the seat of power. Do you think she can handle it?
I think all the stuff she's been through, I think she's gonna prove to be even better than Jon Snow. Jon Snow was hesitant. The fan theory is that she might be pregnant
Sansa?
with a Ramsay baby.
And isn't it possible it's a Ramsay demon baby?
I mean, Ramsay was one of my favorite characters.
I don't know how you can like the one guy who's the most evil character. He filleted Theon Greyjoy and did some unspeakable things to my favorite character, Sansa Stark.
Dude, I don't know. I want Theon gone, man. I am so.
It's not his fault.
She trusted him. She brought him back. She risked her neck for him multiple times, and he had his sister right there, like, yo, come get her, and he was just like, jumps off the boat.
But look at the bigger picture. First of all, his life as Reek, that's traumatic. You can't come back fully from something like that.
I'm gonna be, your hand. I'm gonna do everything, my life for yours. I want you to serve. And when push came to shove, he choked, and he jumped off the boat, and possibly, saw the sister for the last time. One bold prediction.
Let's hear it.
I think Sansa's going to betray Jon Snow. If you look throughout the first couple episodes, they're setting up little conflicts, Little fingers, he's got his little fingers, sticking his little finger where it shouldn't be. And he's going to manipulate her. She doesn't trust him. She's smart, but he has a way, of switching people over. I think Sansa and Jon are going to hit a very pivotal, fundamental breaking point.
I think that Dany's dragons are going to be wiped out in the next 3 episodes. I think that he depends way too much on them for her power, for her status, and the real test for her to see if she's in fact the mother of Westeros will be, can she survive without them? Well, it's that time.
It's that time. It was a good ride. It was a good talk. Yeah. Are you off here too?
It's my stop.
No way. It's my stop too. It's almost like we work together. Nice to see you again.
long
How
time
are
no
you?
see.
Yeah, did you catch the Game of Thrones episode last night?
I did.
Yes.
I did.
Yes. What did you think about fire and ice coming together, finally, and Jon Snow makes it to Dragonstone to meet Daenerys. What do you think of that?
It was a little bit of a lackluster reunion. I thought there was going to be a little more drama to it. It shows that Jon Snow is really done with the Game of Thrones. He's focused on the White Walkers. He believes in it. He's seen the Mad King, and he knows the fate for all of Westeros. And while I was a little upset that they didn't make as strong of an alliance in that moment, I think it shows that he's focused on the real threat. He doesn't care about Cersei. All that is kind of child's play to him at this point. I have to totally eat my words from the last time that we met. Cersei is back with a vengeance this episode. Dishes out some real justice to Olarria Sand and her only daughter. Sit there, chained under King's Landing forever, eternity, to watch her daughter decompose and die. I mean, that's some Ramsay level behavior. Am I right?
It was beautiful.
Oh, man. This guy's crazy.
Ramsay would be proud. She didn't even sick the hat. That was She almost topped Ramsay. I'm sure Ramsay's up in, you know, I won't say heaven because that fool did not go up there.
I think he's a White Walker now, it's safe to say. Somehow.
Wherever that is, he's sitting there with his little golf clap, you know, just like, good job, I'm proud of you. She flanked with the fleet. She, the whole thing that they did at Casterly Rock, they abandoned Casterly Rock. She went and she sacked Highgarden. Jaime sacked Highgarden. No one saw it coming.
Which was a beautiful castle, by the way.
Which is a beautiful
Casterly Rock
castle.
was like crap.
Daenerys is backed against the corner, and she doesn't have much of an option anymore. She doesn't have a navy. Her best, Daenerys' best foot soldiers to invade an army or a castle are stuck in Casterly Rock. Ironically, you know, of course. And I don't think Daenerys has a choice but to get on a dragon and start burning shit. Jon Snow teleporting, he's at Dragonstone in one episode. There's no way that he could have gotten there that fast. I mean, it took Jaime Lannister multiple episodes to get through. Season 1, you have Robert Baratheon and Ned, you know, Honorable Ned Stark. It took them multiple episodes to get to King's Landing, and Jon Snow here, hyperlooping it through, I guess.
Clearly, Elon Musk has made his way to Westeros. There's now a hyperloop, and they haven't shown us, but characters just jetting around now. What is it? 700 miles per hour, I guess.
Something like
beneath the ground in Westeros.
Beneath the ground, yeah.
Powered by the Lord of Light.
It's
bold.
Big bold prediction.
Daenerys Targaryen is gonna, in a sense, start showing us how she's going to be the Mad Queen. I think that she's going to abandon clever plans and strategic thinking. She's gonna hop on her dragons and do one of two things. Either fly over to where the Greyjoy's fleet is and begin to burn them to ashes, or she's gonna go ahead and make a right turn to King's Landing. Okay, my MVP breakout star was the Red Woman. She had a very short role, but a couple things were confirmed. One, the meeting of Dany and Jon Snow was a part of the overall Lord of Light's prophecy. And two, she hinted to Daenerys' death by saying that he has to die in this strange continent just like her. So I think, like I said last time, he will die at the hands of Dany somehow.
I really don't want Varys to die, but you know, hints are hints. And
who was your star of the show? The star of the Game of Thrones?
Euron Greyjoy. He is the epitome of a dirty sailor, and he owns it. Euron Greyjoy is storming the seas. He's messing everybody up. I would love to have Euron Greyjoy next to me on the train. We would have the greatest time in the world.
I would take Cersei to the Griffith Observatory, let her see all the lands, all that could become hers if she became my queen. So that's where I would take her.
It's pretty cliche. Take Cersei on the 405 and let her sit in traffic.
No, that's punishment.
That is the worst punishment you can have. That's why you always got to go Metro.
There you go. Another Monday and coffee time.
Another Monday and coffee time.
Let's go.
Well needed. Off to the office. So what do you think about, you know, the Starks finally reuniting at Winterfell? How are you, what's your take on that?
Well, I think it's great to see Arya and Sansa back together. It was a little awkward. I mean, as awkward as it would be after going through like the worst things in your life and then seeing your sister.
Yeah, it was definitely a little awkward, you know. You had Bran, who's as cold as ice. Bran's a savage. Ice cold Bran. He's seen everything. He's seen what all the stuff people have been through. Bran is cold, but I'm just glad to see everyone's back together.
We see Jon Snow and Daenerys in the Dragon Glass Cave. We can tell things are getting go. We can feel that heat in that scene.
Dany wants Jon to bend the knee. I will support you if you bend the knee. You know, these if statements. And she ultimately said it, you know, what matters more, your pride or the lives of your people? Because you've already told me you can't beat the White Walkers. If you can't beat the White Walkers and you need me, and in order to get me, you need to bend the knee.
Really realistic in saying that they will not accept a Southern leader, especially a Southern leader like Daenerys, who doesn't really know anything or has anything to her name besides dragons, and they don't care about that. In the North, the biggest priority are defeating the White Walkers. So the Battle of the Loot, we see Drogon and Daenerys make a huge entrance onto the battlefield, and for the first time, we really see the capability of Drogon plus Daenerys, and it's just carnage.
That dragon's big. That's a that dragon got shot. That dragon got hit. It screamed, and I'm not gonna lie, I got tingles. I was like, dragon, no.
I think everyone was kind of screaming, but don't you think that this whole scorpion weapon was a little bit overrated because it hit him and he was wounded, but in the end, he still had the ability to defend Danny and attack Jamie when he came lunging at her on the horse.
Which was fairly stupid. I would bet, my paycheck that this guy is not dead, because if you don't see the blood, you don't see this dude's head on the spike, he's alive.
So who was your most valuable player this episode?
I'd say Arya Stark and Jon Snow, because at one end you got, you have Arya Stark going in, like, she goes in, she has a nice little sparring match, and she got some blows on Brienne of Tarth, and Jon Snow dropping some knowledge on Daenerys. She's like, what would you do? And she really gave him an opportunity. And Jon Snow was just like, if you're gonna burn people, you're just gonna be more of the, same. Who's your MVP?
I think it's Jaime Lannister. I think we saw a really noble side of him this episode. His men get ambushed by Daenerys, the Dothraki horde, and a huge dragon, and we really see him step up and be brave and defend his men up until the very end. And
bold predictions.
Predictions.
Big, bold predictions. BBP.
I think that Jaime's going to be taken as a prisoner of war by Daenerys. It's the best move she can make on the chessboard right now. And we'll really see, does Cersei love him enough to make some kind of alliance or trade or just give something up to get him back? Or will Cersei let him die at the hands of Daenerys Targaryen?
So I actually agree with your prediction. I think...
You agree?
We agree for once. I think, like you said, Cersei, they're going to bring a deal to Cersei, and she's going to say, forget you. I don't need him. I got more commanders. And Jaime's going to see this, and I think Jaime and Tyrion are going to end up on the same page. And I think Jaime will ultimately become, the Queenslayer. It'll be a...
All right, man.
One.
We've got to go.
We got to go.
Yeah.
We're late, definitely. How was your weekend?
Drogon's alive!
Wow, you're excited.
I'm sorry. I mean, we were all worried about it, and both Drogon and Jaime made it. Jaime's one of my favorite characters, as you know. And we're greeted with Drogon on the rock, Dany to his right, and it's time to really have judgment over the Lannister army. Now, if you were Daenerys Targaryen, would you have burned both Lord Tarly? The Tarleys, right?
Dickon, Tarly, and...
This guy knows all the names.
And Daddy Tarly. If I was Daenerys, I would not have done that. I definitely would not have done that. I mean, I see Daenerys' point. I gave them a choice. But what were the choices really? Like, in the Game of Thrones, honor's everything, especially for, head Tarly. And if you give them a choice between honor and a glorious flaming death, they're going to choose death, even though Dickon was not the smartest. I'm going to die with my dad. And
he's like a prideful teenager, but I think that she gave them the same choice that she would give any ruler gives a conqueror. When you conquer an army, it's bend the knee and support me. She gives good reason of why you'd want to be on her side or not Cersei's, or die. And I know that Tyrion's there whispering in her ear, but you can see Dany really took the advice of Lady Olenna before her death, and she's going to stick to her word and do what she's got to do to take and win the Game of Thrones.
I just don't know if the best strategy is to be ruling in fear.
Interesting how I feel like people hold Dany to that standard of, she has to be moral, she has to be upright, she can't be too aggressive. But Cersei's been killing people since season 1, and no one's ever on her case. Just something like, worth noticing.
Where do you think the season's going? What is your bold prediction?
I think that Jon Snow will not make it back from the wall. I feel like you cannot go north twice in 2 seasons apart and make it back. It would just be too cheesy, too the hero saving a day. I think he will perish beyond the wall at the hands of the Night King or some White Walker. I think Sansa Stark will be the Lady of Winterfell and the Queen of the North. But I think that Littlefinger may be to her right as the king. Arya will die, and she's that bold young girl who just isn't gonna make it.
I don't think Jon's gonna die. He's too important. They've already tried to kill him off once, and they brought him back. He's a main, component to the Game of Thrones. However, I do believe Arya Stark's gonna die. I think she's going to.
We agree on that.
We agree on that. I believe Arya is going to die trying to kill Littlefinger, and you have so many parallels of how people die in the Game of Thrones. Walder Frey was killed the same way that Sansa's mom was killed. Cut the throat. And there's all these parallels of people die how they kill other people. And since Littlefinger essentially was, the key to why Bran Stark was almost killed, but I think the fact that Bran Stark was almost killed by Littlefinger is going to be parallel to Arya Stark almost killing Littlefinger, and she's going to get killed in the process.
Right. Varys will cross Daenerys, will be burned by Drogon. Another big, bold prediction. I think that next episode, Dany will go to save Jon and will lose either one or all of her dragons, or will suffer another big loss next episode.
I think the White Walkers are going to gain a dragon, and it's going to be just this big storm of bad stuff that's going to happen. It's going to be a bad one.
Let's go get some coffee before work, yeah?
Coffee before work?
Yeah.
I'm already, I'm pretty messed up on coffee right now, I'm not gonna lie. I'm already sweating, I got a sunburn,
Yeah, you need some water, you need some water.
No, let's go get some more.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah. You slapped my sunburn. Oh, sorry, you're terrible. Are you okay?
I'm good, man. That was crazy, though.
Yes, how were your eyes? I heard you stared into the sun, the one thing you're not supposed to do.
Yeah, I did the one thing I was supposed to do. They're okay. Everything's just a little fuzzy, but nothing a Train of Thrones can't fix.
What'd you think of the episode?
Very expected. We had this big battle north of the Wall. It was pretty awesome to see Drogon burning the White Walkers. We kind of were looking forward to that.
Yeah.
But overall, wasn't too impressed, to be honest.
Things are getting predictable.
Right.
I got Jon Snow and Daenerys just like touching and holding, And what's up with Benjen coming in, saving Jon Snow?
Right. This is these are the characters that I'm either drifting off or texting, and I miss these little Easter eggs. But he's from way back season 3 or 4. One.
He's the guy that he was the original Stark that was at the Night's Watch, convinced Jon Snow to go, took him up there. He went out to the Wall, never came back, but his horse came back.
Okay.
Jon Snow is just boring. But everyone loves him. And I don't know why people love Jon Snow so much. They say he's so dreamy.
He's so dreamy.
He's short.
God.
He's 5'7".
Yeah, so I guess Dany. Hey, I'm 5'8".
You passed.
The other scene that we see in the episode is Sansa and Arya have their little tiff. There's a knife involved. And
big old knife.
Big old
That's
dagger.
a big one. And some faces of people.
Yeah, and isn't it weird how she keeps the faces in her bag? And I didn't know that was part of the deal as a many-faced woman.
I mean, she is a strange one.
Yeah.
She's a strange cookie.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I guess you could call it a bold prediction.
Okay, the first bold prediction.
Arya is going to kill Sansa. Arya is going to go behind the scenes without us seeing, and she's going to kill Littlefinger, take his face, become Littlefinger, and talk to Sansa. And that brings up another bold prediction. Another bold prediction.
I think Arya's gonna come out of nowhere because she's had Cersei on her list forever. So I think that Arya's gonna get the kill. But Cersei will die. Maybe not in this next episode, but sometime soon. Now that everyone's at King's Landing, she has a stand a chance. She's on everyone's
hit list.
Hit list.
MVP. Who's your MVP?
Daenerys. I feel like I'm always hard on her, but she came through. She came at kiss. She came in clutch. She saved everyone from the floating iceberg, and I don't know. She kind of like she's so predictable and cheesy and doesn't think a lot, but she just came through that episode, you know, and it was dope.
My MVP is none other than dun, 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 the Night King.
Oh, okay.
MVP for show. Dude just made Olympic gold. He just made the Olympic team with the javelin throw.
Yeah.
Motherfucker got a dragon.
Yeah, no,
So-
he stepped his game up.
Well, we're almost at the end of the line. Literally, Game of Thrones.
I know, literally.
Our next stop,
Live. Their clips.
Big
Summer.
clips. Summer.
Man, end of the line.
Gotta go.
Gotta go.
Na, 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 na.
Was it the season finale that you were hoping for? Season finale, not series.
Yes and no. I'm the big fan of the blood and the gore and
Right.
the big twists, and it wasn't Red Wedding. I wanted some Red Wedding kind of stuff going on.
it wasn't.
No Red Wedding. We did get a surprise kill and almost another one here and there, but
It was pretty awesome to finally see Cersei Lannister scared to death after seven seasons of her non-stop grimacing face and her glass of wine. And when that White Walker came straight up into her face, she was terrified.
first off, I thought Tyrion had a decent chance of dying. I had heard the rumors that they might kill him off as like one of the big bangs. I love Tyrion, but I was kind of hoping for like one of those big kill-offs.
Big kills.
And
It's hard to kill your own sibling. Like, it would take a lot for you to kill, whether it be Tyrion or Jaime, and no matter how evil she is, she can't bring herself to do it. Now, so then we get to the biggest scene of, I think, the episode is on Winterfell. And my favorite character, Sansa Stark, that everyone doubted,
Coming in
everyone
hot.
thought was down and out, stupid, not brave enough, completely does a 360 on Littlefinger. I mean, that was one of the most VA scenes I've seen, and Arya gets to do what she's wanted to do for so long, kill Littlefinger. Everything, the whole show, when you really think about it, started because of Littlefinger whispering in the right people's ears, turning family against family, when he has no house and has no family, if you remember that from the earlier seasons.
he had nothing.
And justice was served. And so sometimes, when two lines are journeying side by side,
Yep.
they come together at a regional connector.
Yes.
And there was some love making in this episode. Not the first time, but it happened.
So my favorite part about this consummation, if you will, was you have the other two characters, Bran and Sam. Like they literally panned back and forth. You have them like, well, basically he's a Targaryen, and then over there, they're just like getting the.
They're merging. They're
merging.
switching lanes. Yeah. MVP. All right, who's yours?
No, who's yours?
Who's mine?
The love of your life.
Love of my life. Sansa Stark came through for us. Killed her and Arya both killed Littlefinger. Proved everyone wrong. I was laughing at all my friends saying, see, she came through in the end. I don't want to ever hear about how lame she is again. So that was my MVP.
That was Remy. Theon Greyjoy stepped up to the plate. He confronted Jon. He's like, Jon, how are you such a boss, dude? How do you always make the right choice? Honorable Jon Targaryen is just like, no, you know what? It's not as easy as it seems, and there's always implications to the choices you make. But you got to do what's right. And Theon, made up with Jon, kind of had, a revelation in a sense. And, he stepped up against, a bigger dude. He was a little heavier, yeah, but this guy was big. He was like, yo, you gotta save my sister. He's like, nah, we're gonna take the wives of XYZ and we're gonna do this and that. He's like, nah, that's not what she said. Like, we're going to get my sister. And he's like, no, and he stepped up and he's getting beat down.
It was a beating.
It was a beating until he got hit in what used to be the private parts.
I guess sometimes not having certain parts can pay off.
he pulled a Floyd Mayweather, Conor McGregor, and he just tired him out and
was
just went to
underdog.
town on him.
Yeah.
Being castrated's not that bad, apparently. If you get your goodies chopped off, it's not over. There's
not.
still a light at the end of the tunnel, and you can persevere. You can go through your life, and you can make a difference.
And take some hits.
And you can
Literally.
take some hits.
Stand clear. The
yeah.
doors are closing.
I guess
Bold
big-
prediction. Bold. Big, bold, brave, brazen.
Thanks for going Metro. Please don't eat, drink, or smoke in trains or on
Okay, big bold prediction. I
Big,
think
bold prediction.
they're gonna take on a whole new tone when the show comes back. I think the whole continent, Westeros, will change. It'll be kind of a dark, dim, dismal scene over all of Westeros. I think Winterfell might fall if realistically the Lannisters aren't gonna go help protect the North, and it's just gonna be Dany and Jon's men versus that first preemptive strike of the White Walkers. We may see our first complete destruction of a major city in the show.
Just some wreckage.
And just some wreckage. Like that could be the
wreckage going
opener I
down.
could see someone, but we really see the destruction of Winterfell. We've never had the destruction of a big city really before. in the
Sansa's
show.
gonna die, man. But my big bold prediction is that Bran is the Night King.
Oh right, this is a big fan theory.
This is one that I've been looking up on. I've started doing some research,
now that you have a lot more free time. I mean,
Yeah, now that I have nothing to do on Sunday but, cry myself to sleep.
so how are you
I
gonna
like
fill the
beer.
void now that?
How am I gonna
It's
fill
over.
the void? I've already seen the season 3 times.
Wow.
Wow, I know. I'm one of those.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll, do the responsible thing and I'll read the books.
Maybe.
I'm not gonna read the books.
What am I gonna do on Monday mornings now?
You've been a part of my life, Aaron.
Thank you.
Truly, it's been a pleasure. It's great to be able to relate to someone. I've gained a true friend.
Me too.
Yeah, it's been really nice.
Thanks, man.
But secretly, I'm plotting to kill you.
Hey everyone, I'm Anna, and welcome back to Train of Thrones.
Yay, we're back.
So I'm here with.
I'm Aaron, and I'm returning from last season of Train of Thrones.
And I'm Jordan, just here for this episode. Hi.
Our special guest.
Yay,
Yay.
she's with us.
So Aaron, you were here last year.
Yes.
And it's been a year and a half since the show's been on. So what have you been doing to fill the void while waiting for this new season?
Well, I don't know about you guys, but at some point it kind of was like, when is this coming back and is it ever coming back? But in the meantime, I was reading the books I talked about at the end of the last season of Train of Thrones, and as you can see, these things are no joke, about 1,000 pages each, but I got through all 5
Frick.
books, and it was amazing. You just get to
But how
get...
did you get through all 5 books? Like, these are hefty.
Well, to be honest, it was reading on my way to work on Metro.
All thanks to writing the, Red Line and the...
The Red Line, Gold Line, and also the 704 bus. Those are my main modes of getting to work every day.
Jordan, do you ride?
I do. I ride all the Red Line from end to end, North Hollywood to Union Station. I was not reading the books on the train.
But isn't that such a nice, good chunk of commute time that you could be reading? if
It's
you wanna-
35 minutes. I could have been reading. I was probably listening to a podcast and avoiding all things Game of Thrones so that I could just be focused when the season started back.
So now that the show started again, we have episodes 1 and 2, which we're going to combine into one because apparently not that much went down, but stuff did go down. So, what did you think of the first 2 episodes?
Things I didn't see coming right off the bat were Jon finding out who he is in episode 1 and then Jon telling Daenerys who he is in episode 2. I just thought we'd kind of wait a little bit.
When we got to the first scene of the first episode, it was pretty awesome for me to just see everyone arrive at Winterfell. Dany's army, we've seen her in Essos and in Meereen for the last
handful of seasons, and she's definitely a foreigner coming up to the cold north, and you can tell by how she's kind of like received
yeah.
very coldly by the Northerners.
I like the similarities that I'm seeing between Cersei and Daenerys. While I don't like Daenerys as much anymore, I see that the two of them are basically the same person, but Cersei owns hers and Daenerys does not.
I liked when we pivoted to Cersei and King's Landing because, I mean, this has just been the ultimate story of redemption for her. To go from the Walk of Atonement, I think in season 5, where she lost everything and was shamed in front of all of King's Landing, and she is sitting back on that throne, 50,000 odd troops,
With
no
no
elephants.
You need a really big boat to get elephants there.
Yeah. Well, I think the coolest thing about me for this last episode is really seeing Sansa Stark, who viewers who are back again from last season know is my favorite character. She's really come into her own as a leader and as a Lady of Winterfell. And that scene in the last episode where you had Daenerys Targaryen, who is the queen, in quotes, at the table, but to her left, Sansa Stark, and to her right, Jon Snow. You see like 3 main characters all with like their own style of leadership, and I feel like all of them equally have a chance to like take the Iron Throne in the end.
In terms of politics, you could say that there is a lot of real-world parallels going on here in terms of the Army of the Dead and climate change, with the Night King kind of being climate change, because a lot of people in Westeros don't believe that he's really going to happen.
And I think he's coming. It's going to get colder. Winters will be longer. So it's definitely, art imitating life. Same thing with like women coming into power with Daenerys and Sansa being in charge.
Extreme weather events, whites coming in and building really weird symbols made out of body parts in your yard. I mean,
That was a creepy part of the first episode.
But I thought that was really cool. Something I noticed about that was the shape that it made is kind of the same shape as the Targaryen seal, which just reconfirms in my head that the Night King is a Targaryen. But,
I mean, he can ride the dragon, right? So I mean, there
absolutely,
is.
I'm convinced. You cannot tell me otherwise.
What about the theory that Bran is the Night King? Somehow, through a mystical mind meld, warging.
Well, he showed everyone that he has his mark on his arm. So there is a connection, and for all my Harry Potter heads out there, it definitely could be like a Harry Potter Voldemort kind of thing. Like, he could be his, like, Horcrux or whatever. My thought is, if he's a 3-eyed raven, that would say past, present, future.
Right.
He's in the present, he can see that. He can see the past, but he cannot see the future. So that's the part where I'm like,
But you
so
know
does
what
the
else
third
would
eye
be
not
so
work? Like, what? I don't...
I think for him to fully have all of those powers as the 3-eyed raven, I think he has to completely sacrifice Bran Stark.
Okay.
And as we've seen with similar with Arya when she wanted to become one of the faceless men, it's easier said than done to really completely
get rid of
abandon
yourself.
your identity.
Yeah.
and
He
who
doesn't
you are.
want to let go because he's holding a very deep grudge, the things we do for
Yeah.
love.
Yeah.
He's not ready to let that part of his life go yet.
If you can see the future, or if you're supposed to see the future, can you give anyone a clue? It doesn't have to be me. Just give someone a clue, please.
So, in terms of the last 2 episodes, who would you say are your MVPs?
So, episode 1, my MVP is Sansa, because I just appreciate how she's become, a fully realized human, woman, character, leader, whatever. My MVP for episode 2 is Jaime Lannister.
Okay, yeah.
I really appreciated his kind of redemptive qualities that showed. He became a better person literally in the span of 54 minutes. He's still a bad guy in the back of my mind, but this episode I was like, okay, I don't hate you as much.
For this most recent episode, my MVP I would have to say is Missandei. She's one of the most underappreciated characters in the show, but she's been one of the most loyal people to Dany. And when Grey Worm approaches her about, when this is all over, I want to take you back to Noth, which is her home. Apparently there's a beach there, so it's a lot better than where they're all held up in Winterfell. I felt like she had no concept of abandoning Daenerys. It made sense logically, but in her heart, it was like, this is my life now. I serve the queen.
My MVP was Ghost, who only made a 2-second appearance in the background because the CGI budget was apparently not enough.
I think the budget's a real thing.
Based on that, and also all the characters who got a little bit of not a happy ending per se, but got some life goals achieved. Who's gonna kick the bucket?
So I think everyone that they made sure to make us kind of fall in love with this episode is gone. Bran's gone. Grey Worm is gone. Grey Worm's planning for the future, and I'm like, you're not gonna have one, boo. That's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
I think he's gone. I think Theon is gone, which will probably take him out of his misery. The other thing that I've noticed, they kept bringing up the crypt, and I'm just like,
They did.
something's gonna happen down in that crypt, and all those women and children are out of here.
I think we'll lose one of the main characters as well too. It either will be Dany or Arya. One of those two might kick the can. And I think that
Arya cannot die.
I know.
She can't. She has to live to the end. She has to. She's earned it.
What about big bold prediction? Cersei Lannister dies in the next episode. Oh.
That would make me happy.
Take the plot for a spin.
All right, so I guess we will see in the next episode.
Yay.
Until next time.
Can't wait.
I think there's fighting happening, but I'm not sure.
Wait, is that a dragon or? Can
I
you see
some-
this?
I see something out in the distance.
Wait, turn the brightness up. Come on. Turn
It's
the
at
brightness
max.
up.
I'm at
Wait,
100%.
where'd Aaron go? Where'd Aaron go?
Whoa! The Lord of Light saved us.
Like, let us all give thanks to Melisandre.
It's not your TV.
Rest in peace. Rest in peace.
Hi, right, welcome back to Trade of Thrones. I'm Anna, and today our special guest is Ryan.
Hello, everyone.
Hey Ryan. And I'm Aaron.
And we are here to talk about the last episode, which was the most epic battle in all Game of Thrones.
Definitely.
I was
So-
told I was going to be on a train.
I think we're on one. I mean,
All right, well, so as we know, the last episode was the big battle of Winterfell. Night King came. A lot of people died, but nobody died that we had predicted in the last episode. So I don't know if that's good or bad.
yeah, I think for one of the first times, all of our big bold predictions were completely off. So, sorry, not sorry. But that was probably one of the most epic 85 minutes, 88 minutes of television
counting?
ever. Like they killed off everyone you weren't thinking about.
Right.
Like in the last episode, they set it up where we got to kind of see all of our favorite characters again in like intimate, very long Game of Thrones style conversation. Basically, all of those people lived, and it was a couple people you weren't even thinking about that are gone. So.
There were a couple instances when you were watching the battle scenes where Arya saved the Hound and Jaime saved Brienne. So there was some of those things where you knew that were kind of going to happen at some point throughout, that these people have been so connected throughout the stories that that they're always watching each other's backs.
And meanwhile, Cersei was also in King's Landing.
Yes.
She was apparently everyone says she's taking a nap, dreaming of bigger and better things.
I think that she had the ultimate strategy. And she's, like I said, she's still playing the Game of Thrones, and it worked in her favor. And I think that they've lost a lot of people in the North. I think they didn't focus on that or didn't get to that in this episode, but it seems like in the next episode, we're going to see the toll that this war has taken, whether it be on the main cast or just the amount of normal Northerners that were sheltering at Winterfell. And I think that the stage is going to be a little bit lopsided now in Cersei's favor.
Do you feel that in this past episode, so many people are watching at the same time? I mean, as the show starts winding down, isn't that it's kind of a sad thing to lose, that this community that we've built around watching, tune in at the same time, same day?
I think kind of by public transit, it brings people together all around one common thing. Just like on the bus in the morning or on the train, you have people of all different walks of life taking transit, going to their place of work or where they need to go. It's like with Game of Thrones. I mean, you have fans who like the show for so many different reasons, but you all come together on Sunday.
So let's talk about the deaths that did happen in the battle. Which ones were the ones that stood out the most to you?
Lyanna.
Yeah.
She went
The
down.
Giant Slayer.
She went down fighting, but that was a sad one. She became I think everyone's favorite.
Yeah, we arguably may have lost a whole family line with the Mormonts, both Jorah and Lyanna. They kind of alluded to that in the last episode where she said, "Oh, I hope I see you after a good cousin." Or
I think Jorah at the end was a sad one as well, because he was always by Dany's side and always wanted to be there. And then to have that scene at the end was very sad.
At so much of the earlier seasons where the two of them, whether it was her time in Essos when she exiles him, he comes back to her,
Right.
and Dany just never loved him in the way that he loved her. But
Right.
hey,
I mean, I think all of us guys have been in that position at some point in our lives. So, yeah.
And all of us have also wanted to die in service to our queens, I guess.
Well, in the way that I thought it was really cute how Drogon even circles around him.
Dragons are fossil fuels. So let's move on to MVPs of the episode. Who was your favorite and why?
It's got to be Arya, right? It's got to be.
Yeah.
This one's pretty easy. I don't know what you guys have done in last ones, but yeah, it was unexpected. I think.
Was it unexpected though?
It was to me.
It was to me.
You expected something to happen because you knew there was 2 more episodes, 3 more episodes left. That, all right, something's got to happen. This is how it ends. But
Yeah.
it kind of feels like all that buildup, and people have been commenting about this, for the Night King to go down that easily.
Yeah.
Some people were asleep. His bodyguards were not protecting him as well. But all of a sudden, Arya Stark is there and can stab him pretty easily. And he doesn't die by dragon fire, but he dies by a...
The dagger, which was timely.
Yeah.
My other MVP is Ghost.
He's back
Ghost
again.
was great. He was in the battle right on the front lines,
you go.
and he survived.
Okay, my MVP was the Red Woman. I've liked her the whole show. She's a woman of very few words, but she's kind of like witty and funny in her own way. So to see her come back right on time, if it wasn't for her, they would have died because she lights the swords, she lights the barrier, and
She lights up the world so we can see the writing.
there you go. She brought our lights back today. Big, bold prediction.
Sorry. Big, bold prediction. Dun, dun, dun.
I think after her heroic fight last week, Arya is not going to make it through the next episode.
I think Dany and Sansa are going to have to come to an agreement about what happens after the war. Because, to your point, it's going to be a build-up episode. What side will Sansa be on? Is she going to back Daenerys? Did Daenerys really rescue the North? I don't know. But I think we're going to learn a little bit more about who's on what team than leading up to probably the battle for King's Landing, which is, if this was the battle for Winterfell, I can't even imagine.
Well, so I guess we'll find out what happens next on Game of Thrones on Sunday.
Yes.
Hopefully it'll be a lot brighter
Let's
as we
hope.
head to King's Landing. So next stop, King's Landing.
Except King's Landing.
Go.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
Again?
All right.
All right. That's all the money we had for lights, guys. All right, and welcome back to Train of Thrones. I'm Anna, and our special guest today is Paula. Yay!
Welcome.
Thank you for
Paula.
having me.
And I'm Aaron.
And today's episode is not sponsored by Starbucks, but apparently Daenerys is. I think this episode really is all about relationships. So let's get into it. Let's talk about what you thought, what kind of relationship stood out to you.
Well, I think the camaraderie of the people that are left, right? So we open up the episode with this big feast in Winterfell. People are trying to celebrate as much as they can the big victory over the dead. And we saw with Tormund and Jon, they had a moment where they're joking around. He's showing a lot of affection towards him. And Dany makes Gendry the Lord of Storm's End. So like you said, I think that the relationships that are among people that are left are coming together nicely.
Yeah, and for me, the relationships that stood out was Brienne, Tormund, Jaime Lannister love triangle. It's it reminded me of an 80s teen rom-com with Molly Ringwald, Andrew McCarthy, and John Cryer fighting for her affection. And but I loved how it played out, and it's been great to see the evolution of Jaime and Brienne's relationship. And then also the relationship that we see between Daenerys and Jon, from her perspective, seeing the love and admiration he has.
Well, I will say this about Jon. Maybe they all want him to be king, but he is definitely a very bad pet owner. What kind of person abandons their faithful companion like that without so much as a kiss goodbye?
It just seems like the show's jumping all over the place. 1 minute we're in King's Landing, then we're in Dragonstone, then we're in Winterfell, or other way around. Sorry, Winterfell, Dragonstone, then King's Landing, and it's how are they moving around so quickly? And they don't give you any indication of how much time is passing.
No.
So it's has it been a week or a day or a minute?
Everything feels very rushed.
So regarding Sansa, I think one of the biggest issues I noted with her character in this episode has less to do with her and more to do with the writers of the show, is they had her talk about how, the abuse made me the powerful woman I am today. And I think I take a lot of issue with that because she is strong in spite of the abuse and the rape and all the bad things that she's had to endure, not because of those people and what they did to her.
She's been the most underrated
Yeah.
character in the show. One thing the writers did do last season, they did surprise us when you kind of thought that Sansa was going to be passive with Littlefinger and allow him to have a role in her new life as Lady of Winterfell, and she called him out and executed him in front of all of her subjects. So maybe we'll get a moment like that again this season where you kind of think that Sansa's not playing the game, or you kind of doubt her, cast her out, and she'll come back with a moment in either the next episode or the final episode of the series.
The good guys are going to win in the end. I know it. I'm an optimist.
Which good guys, though? We don't know.
And who's good, who's bad?
I'm Team Sansa.
Okay.
Yeah, that's who
I will
am.
say for Jamie, the whole he's going back to Cersei thing, I felt like you could really tell that he had only been in a relationship all his life with his sister, because he got no game. I mean, finally he did finally get Brienne, but it was more like, oh man, baby, it's getting hot in here, so I guess we should take off our clothes.
It's getting hot in
Awkward
here.
love scene.
With that, let's go into our big bold predictions. So, for me, last week's prediction was that, Tyrion would die. That did not happen because, it was just like punch in the face. And then Bron's like, okay, peace out, guys. Which I was like, that was where's that button? That was easy. I would say that there might be a showdown between Dany and Cersei. One with Dragonfire versus Wildfire. We all saw that Cersei is not afraid to set her own people on fire.
No.
Yeah.
And she's now inviting Dany to, burn it all, and especially after, with Miss Sandy's last words, Dracarys.
Yeah, I think what is the woman's name that runs the ships and she went...
Ara.
Yara.
Yara.
Yara. I
Greyjoy,
think she's going to come back, and I think she's going to help the Team Winterfell combat Cersei.
Good point.
I have like two mini yet bold predictions. I think that
They're not big.
Varys will betray Daenerys.
For sure.
Because he's mentioned earlier in the show that he is for the people. He does what is ever in the best interest of the people of Westeros, and I think he sees that Daenerys is going mad. So he will make an attempt on her life or something, and I think that Daenerys will burn him because we also have to have him fulfill the prophecy of dying in Westeros. That's what the Red Woman told him. So I think that will happen. I think that while all of the chaos is happening in the big battle, Arya will slip into Winterfell, and I think that she will kill Cersei because throughout the whole show, Cersei has always been on her list, and I will just be really disappointed if she doesn't get her moment and kill her or have a part in her death. And I don't think that that's maybe a piece of the puzzle that Cersei is thinking about.
All right, so let's talk about MVPs for this past episode. Aaron, why don't you start?
It's Missandei. She goes out honorably, and even in the face of death, is still supporting her queen Daenerys. That's a good person. That's somebody that I would want in my corner. So rest in peace, Missandei.
R.I.P. Missandei. She's like, burn them all.
Yeah, she went with the bang.
Burn it all. My MVP, Sansa. I just really think she's so underrated right now, and it's so frustrating to see her, her opinions overlooked.
My MVP is Gendry because you know what? You sleep with a girl one time, you get a title, and you decide that you're gonna shoot your shot. Okay, and I mean, I respect that. And also Ghost because he was loyal even though Jon abandoned him. Jon Snow, you know nothing.
We all know Jon can always be a little bit clueless.
He still knows nothing.
Yeah, as the Red Woman would say, rest in peace.
Well, I guess we will find out what Jon Snow does know in the next episode.
Yes.
So tune in next week.
See ya.
Bye.